So this young lady, Valeriya Lescheva,
This is Valyrian steel.
bench presses more than ya boy. It's true. It's absolutely true. I have never bench pressed, with a pause, more than 110 kilos. Whereas her best bench press is 113.5 kilos, or around 249 pounds. Now, if you're thinking, what the fuck? That is the correct response. So in this video, we're going to look over her best lifts, my best lifts, and why I am just a little bit more jacked than she is. I know that I usually say strength equals size. Well, kind of.
That should get young Geoffrey's attention.
So what the hell is going on here? She lifts in the 52 kilo or about 114 pound weight class, whereas I am a little bit heavier at around 95 kilos or around 210 pounds. Plus, it's safe to say that I'm a little bit more jacked than she is. So how the hell do we bench press about the same weight? Now, the first and most obvious difference would be that she is an extremely technical bencher. She is a power lifter. She is interested in lifting the most amount of weight possible within the rules. So this is known as being a very technical bencher. In other words, cheating. So in other words, being a power lifter is just being a professional cheater at lifting weights. Leave your hate comments down below. They help the algorithm. When I say that sumo is cheating or that an arched bench press is cheating, I want to be clear, I'm saying that ironically, but some people actually mean that when they say it. If you're getting white lights, it is by definition not cheating. I don't know what the internet expects from these people.
You've got to do better.
Lifter. Like that they would have worse technique and lift less weight and be less competitive just to make the internet happy? Really? That's what you expect them to do? No. Powerlifting has rules. They're following the rules. They're doing it in a pretty damn badass way. And that's that. It might not look the most aesthetic to some people. It might not be the best for muscle growth, which we'll go into later. But to me, totally okay. However, it is worth noting that the more technical of a bench presser you are, the less you're going to get out of the movement for hypertrophy. There's a little bit of a trade-off here. In the extreme, shortening your range of motion is just not going to be good for muscular development. Bench pressing in this way is not good for pec hypertrophy, not good for front delt hypertrophy, definitely not good for triceps hypertrophy. It's just not really a very good developmental exercise. It is the ultimate display of strength. Remember, strength is specific. She is specifically good at doing this type of lift. And when I say that our maxes are pretty much the same, I mean that. I've never bench pressed more than 110 kilos with a pause. I've done it for 4 singles in the exact same workout, but I've never done 115 kilos or even 112.5 kilos. I've done 115 with a significant bounce, but that's a different movement. You also have to take into account leverages. I don't know her wingspan, but if you look at when she locks out a deadlift, it's not like even close to her knees. So she doesn't really have very long arms, which explains why her bench press is extremely good and her deadlift is not quite on the same status. I am 6 feet tall and I have about a 6'4" quote unquote wingspan. So this is not going to be doing my bench press any favors, but it does mean that for a given load, I am placing more tension on the pectorals. You also have to look at your style of training. I don't know her training in depth, but typically power lifters will focus more on lower reps and on improving their technique. For me, I train with higher reps often, also lower reps, probably with higher volume, closer to failure, just stuff that is going to stress the muscle more and going to be less focused on improving maximum strength. It's also worth noting that as opposed to a powerlifter, there's a bunch of different areas that I sort of have to work on if I want to look just maximally jacked. So rear delts, side delts, biceps, long head of the triceps, rectus femoris. Like, there's a bunch of different muscles that aren't really that important for powerlifting, but in terms of bodybuilding, they are very, very important. So if you want to be a bodybuilder, it's not just about lifting heavy ass weight on the squat, bench, deadlift. There's a lot more that goes into it, and you're almost certainly going to have to train with higher volumes and have a lot more exercise variety. And I am not a powerlifter. I know that is a surprise to some people, and they think that anyone in the gym has to be doing squat, bench, deadlift just to optimize those, but I just look at them as a tool, as something to get hypertrophy from, not to maximize for their own sake. And yes, I do have strength goals, but they are done in a way that is going to be conducive to hypertrophy. So it's going to be doing more range of motion, not just, contorting myself into a position to lift the most weight, but how to improve strength while getting hypertrophy from it. So doing sufficient volume, sufficient range of motion, using a technique that is not shifting the tension to other areas. So I can do a Larson Spoto press. Actually, I did a double with 110 kilos, right? And most people would see this and say, hey, well, maybe if you optimize the technique a little bit and use leg drive, you could lift quite a bit more, especially if you did like a specific peaking phase. Yeah, maybe, but that's not really my goals. It's someone else projecting their own goals onto me. So do I feel ashamed or embarrassed that a 52 kilo young lady bench presser powerlifter outbenches me? No. If I actually felt ashamed, I wouldn't be making this video.
Geo, dude! I'm sorry. Are you okay? Geo. You don't have to apologize. You gave it your best shot.
And people often hear my maximum strength squat, bench, deadlift numbers, and I would total roughly 1,050 pounds. So I'm roughly 450, 350, 250 for deadlift, squat, bench. And I used to feel embarrassed. I used to feel like, oh man, I gotta. But train the way you want to train. Okay? If you want to train for purely hypertrophy, that might result in different numbers than someone who is only interested in strength. And maybe at some point I'll do a peaking phase or a strength-focused phase where, I really manage fatigue and it's lower reps and super technical. But I'm really not that interested in it. I like the training that I do, and I'm not upset with not hitting certain numbers at this point. I used to be, but really, not anymore. And so when I say you have to get stronger to get bigger, they are related, but you can certainly skew one adaptation more than the other. You can get bigger with getting kind of modest strength gains, or you can get stronger without gaining that much size. Okay, so these adaptations are related, and they certainly can contribute to each other, and there's a little bit of cross-pollination there. Certainly it's more correlated than, gaining strength in a marathon or gaining size in a marathon, but they are different. They are different adaptations, and you should go with whatever one that you prefer. And you can do both if that's what you want. And Natural Hypertrophy has a few good videos on this topic. Often I will see people training like a pure powerlifter when their goal is actually hypertrophy. And then they're wondering why they're not quite seeing results. It's because they're doing training that is related to their goal, but is certainly not optimal for their goal. And I see my own lifts, especially squat, bench, and deadlift, get curb stomped on a regular basis by fairly petite female powerlifters. So, I used to feel like, oh man, I gotta do better. But you have to realize what goes into these lifts and stay true to your own goals. Doesn't affect my sense of self-worth at all. Alright, that is all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, slap around that notification bell. Grab a copy of my book for lots of detailed exercise information, detailed programming advice, injury prevention, lots of good shit there. It's only $20, available on my website, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.